कोरोना ने भारत का हाल बेहाल कर दिता है। ऑक्सीजन की कमी है तो हस्पतालों च मरीजों को बैड नहीं मिल रही। इन्हां हालातां च दुनिया के ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ देश भारत की मदद लई अगे आए ने।
The context, we are facing an unprecedented second wave of the pandemic. As of now, we have over 3 million active cases. This has obviously put considerable pressure on our healthcare system, on the capacities and resources that we have. Government has been, in many senses, very quick to try and make an assessment of where we have capacity shortfalls, where we have a requirement to meet on an urgent basis. Based on some of these considerations, the Ministry of External Affairs was charged with trying to find the most effective means of addressing those resource constraints. We have, of course, been part of a larger, I would say, interagency and interministerial consultation in this regard. These consultations are guided by the very highest levels. The Prime Minister has personally given his direction and guidance on many of the areas that we are dealing with. The group of ministers has been involved integrally in the process. Our own Minister, External Affairs Minister, has personally been involved in overseeing the process in our ministry. You saw that last evening or last night, late last night, he had a video conference with all of our heads of missions all over the world, with the objective of not only briefing them but also directing them on what they need to do in terms of the highest priorities attached to our domestic considerations with regard to meeting the requirements of our health system today. We have, as I mentioned, prioritized certain areas. I think oxygen, liquid oxygen, is one of the areas that has been a priority. We've also seen the requirement for anything that produces, equipment that produces oxygen, oxygen generators, oxygen concentrators, oxygen producing equipment, cryogenic tankers, transportation equipment for oxygen. We've also needed some urgent pharmaceutical products like remdesivir and tocilizumab, which is also a drug that is quite urgently required. Although we produce remdesivir, but given the requirements, obviously the production has not been adequate to meet the immediate shortfall. So in all of this, I think we did call upon our missions, in particular the ones that were really in countries that had the capacity to meet our priority items. This has been, as I said, it's been a very high priority. The Ministry of External Affairs has attached the greatest importance to this effort. As you're aware, we had OSD, Special Secretary Dammu Ravi, who's been dealing with the COVID issues. But we've also deployed a number of our younger officers to work with him so that we have quick responses. We have people who are working 24/7 on this issue. We have a number of other officers dealing with other areas. I want to just, for your benefit, categorize what are the different areas that we are working on. One is that we are looking at government-to-government sourcing. In other words, government has an empowered group, which is Empowered Group 2, which, as you know, is headed by currently by the Secretary of the Ministry of Transport and Highways. This group has been engaged with seeing how we can quickly source, bulk oxygen, bulk liquid oxygen, etc. And they've done some very commendable work in getting some immediate results in that area. The second is an area in which we have actually received offers of assistance from various governments. We've been, actually there has been quite an outpouring of, I would say, solidarity with India. There's been outpouring of, let's say, assistance from various countries. Over 40 countries have actually committed to provide us with many of the items that we need most urgently. I'll try and give you some more details on that. The third area is in terms of procurement by Indian corporates. Many of the larger Indian companies who are already very integrated into supply chains globally, have been sourcing equipment on the lines that I mentioned quickly from their sources of supply, and we have already again seen some results in that regard. The fourth area is international corporates. In the US, for example, a very large number of corporates have come together under the auspices of the State Department and some government facilitation to offer assistance through their own resources. We've seen that also in other countries. And finally, Indian community associations, individuals who have, I think from all over the world come forward to say that what can we do to assist. So we are getting offers which are from different parts of the world. Our objective is to ensure that we channelize all of this assistance that is both sought by us and being received in a manner that is as effective as possible. In other words, how do we receive it? How do we ensure that we facilitate quick clearance? And not only that, we ensure that all of this is taken to different parts of the country where it is needed most critical areas. In that context, of course, we have had very strong interministerial and interagency cooperation. Cabinet Secretary has been overseeing this process himself. We've also had the representatives of a number of other ministries, obviously the Health Ministry, Pharmaceuticals, Home Ministry, Civil Aviation, Ministry of Defence, Biotechnology, a range of ministries, agencies, finance, I shouldn't forget, have been involved in this effort. What we want to make sure is that all this equipment that is consigned to India, to the Government of India, is expeditiously cleared. There are blanket exemptions from the different taxes, customs duties and taxes that they would have to normally undergo if such items were coming into India, how they can be quickly cleared. But also, most important is logistically, when we are talking about heavy equipment, oxygen generating plants, how these are taken to different parts, as I said, of the country where it's most needed. And this is something that has been quite a major effort. I mean, we want to make sure that this process is smooth right from the point that we identify sources of supply to the point that it actually reaches those of our citizens that need these items and this sort of assistance the most. So you can imagine that this is a very high priority, and this is something that we give the greatest importance to.
ਕੋਰੋਨਾ ਸੰਕਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਦੇਸ਼ ਭਾਰਤ ਦੀ ਹਰ ਪੱਖੋਂ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਆਕਸੀਜਨ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਉਪਕਰਨ ਭਾਰਤ ਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਅਜਿਹੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਯੂਏ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਭਾਰਤ ਨੂੰ ਮਦਦ ਭੇਜੀ ਹੈ।
The normal procedure is that when a certain consignment has to come to India, it is consigned to the Indian Red Cross Society. The Indian Red Cross Society receives all these items on behalf of the Government of India. And then, as I said, we have an entire team that takes this over. This is mainly the Ministry of Health that identifies what has to be done, but there is a lot of logistical support by a company associated with Ministry of Health and the Department of Military Affairs to see that the equipment is very quickly placed where we need to have it placed. Just to give you some sense of where we are, we've got already a number of items that have come in. For example, the first flight that came in, I think many of you would have seen, was on the 27th of April, the night of 27th April from the UK, which brought in a number of oxygen concentrators, ventilators, and other equipment. Last night we had a flight from Russia, actually two aircraft, special aircraft that came in from Russia that brought very large number of oxygen generating equipment. That means plants that generate oxygen. We had some 20 of those plants. We also have had a lot of ventilators, bedside monitors. Russia also gave us favipiravir, which is in some senses again antiviral for COVID-19 treatment. We are also expecting tomorrow and over the next couple of days 3 flights, special flights from the United States. You would have seen that President Biden spoke to Prime Minister. He offered extensive assistance. You would have seen the details of that assistance also from the United States. And of course, that assistance also went into areas like raw materials for our vaccine industry, etc. But the US is going to provide at an initial basis at least 3 of these aircraft coming in with much needed oxygen equipment and concentrators, other areas that we need assistance. We will also have, we have a special cargo flight that is arriving tonight, I believe, from UAE, again with ventilators and carrying favipiravir medicines. Just going back quickly to the US, I talked about the 3 flights that are coming in. The first one, which is tomorrow, 2 flights tomorrow, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and on the 3rd of May we will have a 3rd flight. They will carry with them very large number of, as I mentioned to you, oxygen generating equipment. There will also be 2,000 oxygen concentrators, 500 oxygen cylinders, and I would say that capacity to provide 28 million liters of oxygen. Again, very much needed help both in terms of cylinders, in terms of actual oxygen, but also most importantly oxygen generating equipment that is very much needed. We also have a flight from Ireland coming in with 700 concentrators. France has also been very active. I think their flight will also be coming in on Saturday. As I said, over 40 countries, and these are not just developed countries. Our neighbors, Mauritius, Bangladesh, Bhutan, have all come forward to offer assistance in their in whichever capacity is possible, and we have got a lot of assistance also, and commitments of assistance from different parts of the world, from Europe, from the Gulf region, UAE I mentioned, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, but also Europe and even further parts of the world, from Australia, New Zealand, and countries like Guyana, which are located geographically further away. All of this is very important because this has to be coordinated very carefully, and we have to ensure that whatever comes in is something which is not only required by us, obviously, but also is prioritized quickly. This, in a nutshell, is really what we wanted to give you a sense of. If you want an overall sense of what is coming, in terms of oxygen generating plants, we are talking about over 500 plants. In fact, we are talking about close to 550 oxygen generating plants that are going to come in from different sources from all over the world. As I said, it is those that we are purchasing, it is those that are being provided by corporates, by governments, by private individuals, by community associations. It's a mix of all that, but we are looking at over 500 oxygen generating plants coming in the next few days and weeks. We are looking at about over 4,000 oxygen concentrators. That these are very, very essential for what we're doing now. We are looking at over 10,000 oxygen cylinders, which are also in some senses in short supply. 17 oxygen cryogenic tankers, some of which have already come in. You've seen the Air Force has flown in some of these tankers from Thailand, Singapore, etc. And of course, Gilead Sciences has offered us 450,000 doses of remdesivir, very, very essential in today's context. We also have been offered 300,000 doses of favipiravir, some from Russia, as I mentioned, but also from the UAE and other countries. Tocilizumab is very essential again, very part of our priority list, and we are going to get tocilizumab from Germany, from Switzerland. Roche has also agreed to expedite their raw material supplies for the production of some of our very essential drugs, and so has Gilead Sciences. So we are also expediting raw material supplies, not only for the production of remdesivir, but also in terms of vaccines. So what I want to say is that all in all, this is very vital part of our, the international cooperation is a vital part of our, meeting and bridging the immediate requirements that we have. Obviously, we are making every effort to step up our own capacities. For example, my colleague Secretary Pharmaceuticals told me that we normally manufacture 67,000 doses of remdesivir a day. Our 7 manufacturers of remdesivir that are authorized manufacturers by Gilead Sciences.
ਹੁਣ ਰੁਕਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਲਈ, ਤੇ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੁੜ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਲਦ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ। ਹੋਰ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਭਾਰਤ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ? ਕਰੋਨਾ ਸੰਕਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਾਰਤ ਦੀ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ੀ ਮੁਲਕ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਹਾਇਤਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ? ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹਰ ਦੇਸ਼ ਨੇ ਕਰੋਨਾ ਸੰਕਟ 'ਚ ਭਾਰਤ ਦਾ ਸਾਥ ਦੇਣ ਦਾ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ।
But the requirement today might be between 2 to 3 lakhs a day. So we have to bridge the gap, and this gap is this is something that our producers are well aware of. They are actually ramping up their production. We've had a meeting which our minister himself took, which the cabinet secretary also took, with all producers, and we find that they are ready to go from 67,000 to 3 lakhs, even 4 lakhs a day. They need the raw material inputs, they need the support, and that is something that is coming in the fullest possible way. We've got all assurances from Gilead, from the US government that whatever requirements are there, we will try and meet it to the best of ability. As you know, we are also in touch with other manufacturers of remdesivir in Egypt, in other parts of the world, to see whether we can source this from those countries, and we are working on making sure that those gaps are met. So what we are talking about is short-term gaps. We're not even talking about the medium term. I think by the medium term, our own domestic industry would have been up to the task. You have seen that when we had the first wave, there was a shortage of masks, PPEs, ventilators. In a short while, we went from being net importers to net exporters. Test kits, for example, today we are producing enough test kits for ourselves and different parts of the world. I would say that the same thing will be seen in terms of production of remdesivir, in terms of production of some of the oxygen generating equipment. If you see in oxygen terms also, from our health authorities have made a very detailed presentation where it's very clear that our capacities have been ramped up even in the first few days of the second wave. And we have also diverted oxygen that normally goes to industrial units for medical uses. But there are logistical challenges. Much of the oxygen produced is in the eastern part of the country, whereas demand is primarily in the western and northern parts of our country. So we have to match the supply source with the demand source. We need equipment, transportation equipment to do it, and therefore cryogenic tankers and the Air Force, Indian Air Force has come in terms of making sure that there is enough capacity to do that. I must end our opening remarks by saying that all of our missions and all of our ambassadors have been very receptive, extremely adept in meeting the requirements of the day. We've established contact directly with Gilead, with Roche, with all of the companies that are involved. We're working with governments, we're working with the private sector, we're working with associations, we're working with chambers of commerce. We are giving the topmost priority to meeting our requirements, our immediate requirements in terms of our healthcare facilities in combating the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you look at it in the next few days, if you look at the sort of capacities that we'll be creating, we'll be doing a very important role of bridging, by which time domestic capacities would have come into place. In the ministry itself, as I said, we have different teams working on different parts of it. We are very clear that this is the highest priority, and we will work extensively to make sure that the entire cooperation and coordination that we need with all of our partners, international partners, interlocutors all over the world will be smoothly interfaced with our domestic requirements and our domestic ministries and agencies that actually deal with this on the ground. So for example, if we are getting a generating plant and the need is not in Delhi but in Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand, flight can be sent straight there, and it can be, this equipment can be sent there. So the coordination is very, very minute to minute. It's also anticipatory. If a flight is coming on Saturday, we have already got the entire list, we've got the manifest, we've done all the clearances, the paperwork, everything should be cleared quickly. We are also anticipating issues, for example, technical issues. You have 110 volts in the US, we have 220 volts here. How do you manage that? How do you anticipate that situation? In certain cases, insulation is a problem because we're dealing with equipment from Russia, equipment from France, from Germany, from USA, from Singapore. How do you reconcile that with our own requirements? So all of these issues are those that we are trying to anticipate in advance, and that is where good coordination, good cooperation, and good synergies are very critical within our system. But it is a whole of government effort. So let me stop there, Arindam, and see if you have any questions.
देखिए, हमने पूरी कोशिश की है कि जितने सप्लाई सोर्सेज हैं रेमडेसिविर के, चाहे वो ओरिजिनल मैन्युफैक्चरर जो गिलियड साइंसेस के पास हो या उनके जो ऑथराइज्ड मैन्युफैक्चरर्स हो इजिप्ट में या इजराइल में या जहाँ भी हो, उनको हमने डायरेक्टली भी कांटेक्ट किया है. तो गिलियड साइंसेस ने तो कमिट किया है कि 4,50,000 डोज वो कंपनी की तरफ से ग्रेटिस बेसिस पे हमें देंगे. इसके अलावा हमने इजिप्ट को कांटेक्ट किया है, जहां पे हम 4 लाख डोज और हमें उम्मीद है कि वहां से आ सकती है। हमें ये भी पता है कि बांग्लादेश में भी मैन्युफैक्चर हो रहा है, उज़्बेकिस्तान में भी कुछ स्टॉक्स हैं, यूएई में भी कुछ स्टॉक्स हैं। तो जहां भी स्टॉक्स हैं हम उनके साथ संपर्क कर रहे हैं और हम देख रहे हैं कि कैसे ये जल्दी से जल्दी हमारे देश में ये स्टॉक्स आ जाएं, ताकि ये जो शॉर्ट टर्म गैप जो मैंने बताया आपको उसको कवर कर सकें। विल जापान, let me just respond to the question by Shai Shimbum first. Japan has been a very close partner in whatever areas of importance that are there in terms of international cooperation. And we're very happy that Japan has been responsive to many of our requirements. And here Japan has offered us a number of items, including concentrators, ventilators, and pharmaceutical products. And of course, the means and details of this is yet to be elaborated, but the offer has been made, and I think it should be here quite soon. As far as your other question is concerned, and one that J6P has also alluded to, we know that number of companies in India have been sourcing products. I mentioned to you that companies have also been active in sourcing our priority requirements, be they oxygen generators, concentrators, pharmaceuticals, etc. And some of it is coming from China and is being sourced from China also. Cargo flights are operating, and some of this equipment is coming in, some of it is being sourced. But I think this is part of meeting requirements as I said, in the most effective manner possible. And our missions and posts have been asked to facilitate wherever required. There are issues of transportation, there are issues regarding the speed at which we can get some of these products. So we are fully engaged in ensuring that many of this equipment and supplies are coming in as fast as possible.
ਫਿਲਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਹੀ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੀਆਂ तमाम ਖਬਰਾਂ ਵੇਖਣ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ABP ਸਾਂਝਾ।